some of your brown sugar. I want some of your brown sugar.
Hello beautiful people, welcome back to my channel. This is Brownsugar Commentary and I'm your girl, Kayla. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe for more videos. Alright, let's get right in to it. So we gonna be talking about our favorite topic today. Cause every time we try to leave, colorism pulling us back, period. Okay? We gonna be talking about colorism yet again. Because I finally got to check out Coming to America, the Coming to America sequel, and I got some thoughts, honey. I got some thoughts, I got some gripes, grievances, all of that, and we're going to get into all of it today, okay? We're going to talk about colorism in both the original and the sequel because both of them have it. I talked about it briefly in some of my other videos, but we're going to do a deep dive today. So what we're going to do is talk about the colorism in the original video, talk about the colorism in the sequel, and then I'm going to give my overall thoughts and opinion about the sequel since it's recently come out, and kind of the history of Eddie Murphy and his portrayal of darker skinned black women. So let's get right into it, shall we? So who does not know about Coming to America, the original, right? This is a cult classic. It's a very black staple black film, staple romantic comedy film. Fun facts about this movie: my parents actually went to go see this movie on their very first date, so it holds a special place in my family's heart. I've watched it a billion times. However, if you watched anything on this channel, you know that I can love something and still point out the problem in it, okay? I can do that because you can like something and still point out its flaws. It doesn't take anything away from it. And I want to preface the conversation because I know people love them some Eddie Murphy, and that's cool. I know people love them some this movie. That's also cool. However, if you're going to be obtuse about colorism and talking about and having a real conversation, and we're going to sit there and be all like, it's just jokes, stop being so sensitive, all of that, this video is not for you. I'm going to tell you right now, it's not for you, sweetie. So you can go ahead and bounce, okay? To the left, all right? Because I'm not doing it. I already know what time it is with some of y'all, and it's not happening, okay? We do productive conversations surrounding colorism. We do open discussions, but not with the ignorance, just because you want to protect your billionaire fave that don't know you from nowhere. All right. So, for starters, we gonna do what we always do. Around here, we gonna give the definition of colorism because we love definitions around here, honey. All right, and here we go. I'm gonna hit you with a new one today, right? We're gonna do discrimination based on skin color, also known as colorism or shadism, is a form of prejudice or discrimination in which people who are usually members of the same race are treated differently based on the social implications that come with the cultural meanings that are attached to skin color. The people in the back, just in case you forgot. All right, so let's talk about it. Coming to America is a 1988 American romantic comedy film directed by John Landis and based on a story originally created by Eddie Murphy, who also stars in the lead role. The film also stars Arsenio Hall, James Earl Jones, Shari Headley, and John Amos. The film was released in the United States on June 29, 1988. Eddie Murphy plays Akeem Joffer, the crown prince of the fictional African nation of Zamunda, who travels to the United States in the hopes of finding a woman he can marry. Okay? And the colorism in this movie mainly deals with Miss Patrice McDowell, who is Lisa McDowell's sister, okay? And Patrice fits what we like to call the black best friend, the black sister friend, the black cousin trope, where darker skinned women are often placed in very close proximity to a lighter skinned character, and they're usually like a foil of one another, where the lighter skinned women has positive characteristics, the darker skinned women has very negative portrayals, okay, or negative characteristics, right? And these negative characteristics are kind of meant to amplify the good parts of the lighter skinned character. And we already talked about, plenty of examples of this. Most recently, I talked about this with the character Dejanay in the Proud Family. If you have not checked that video out, definitely go do that. And I also do an even deeper dive of this character trope in my stereotypes of Black characters in television and film video. And if you haven't checked that out, definitely check it out. Okay, Patrice, well, let's talk about Lisa first, right? To understand Lisa, you can get a better picture of how this is completely opposite on how Patrice is shown in this film. So Lisa, when we first are introduced to her, this is the part in the movie where Akeem is encouraged by the barber to go find a nice woman at the church, the little benefit kind of concert or whatever you want to call it. Isn't this kind of the most positive way you can introduce a certain character, right? Miss Lisa, she's there, she gets on the podium and she starts doing this very passionate speech, urging the audience to go, reach a hand in their pockets to donate to this, charitable cause. And look at her, she's beautiful, she's smart, she's articulate, all the great things that for Akeem is practically love at first sight. And so right off the bat, like I said, we see that Lisa's a good character, and she is desirable. She is the creme de la creme. This is the best Akeem is gonna get. After he done struggled going to the bar night after night with all these very interesting women, he finds this woman. She's a diamond in the rough, right? And he thinks she's so great that he is, willing to go and get a part-time job at this, at the McDowell, which is basically bootleg McDonald's, all right? And this man is a prince, a man who's never had to pick up so much as a broom in his life. And he said it's worth for him to go through manual labor or do manual labor working at a minimum wage job in the middle of Queens for the affections of this woman after this one interaction. That's powerful. That's powerful right there. So that's one, right? And then, Lee says she has a boyfriend. She's with Mr. Darryl. And Mr. Darryl is the heir to the Soul Glow fortune, okay? So she's not with no bum. Technically Darryl is a bum in terms of personality, but we're not led to believe that quite yet, right? She has it all. And so we see in the movie he's trying to pursue her, and she's just showing how she is worthy to become someone's future queen, right? She carries herself well. Even when she is with Darryl, she has some form of autonomy with him. She's assertive. She stands up for herself. She, even she's not even, it's when she ends up leaving Darryl for Akeem, it's we're supposed to be running for Akeem anyway. Like I said, we've shown Darryl being a douchebag several times in this movie, so we don't feel bad. So her technically cheating on him means nothing because he's trash. And in the end, she feels betrayed by Akeem because he essentially lied about his identity. And so the fact that she wasn't quick to pounce on him the moment she heard that he wasn't a goat herder, but actually a prince, a rich prince, she's not oh no, but she's no, you're not gonna lie to me, whatever. And he has to run and go get her because she's worth it, right? She's a prize. And that's how she's constantly portraying this movie, right? She's a prize. She is a diamond in the rough. She's all the great things. She is regal even before, knowing that he's a prince. She's worthy of it all, right? We're rooting for Miss Lisa. On the other hand, we have Miss Patrice McDowell. And Miss Patrice, while there's some good qualities to Patrice, she's definitely a pretty girl. She's a fun girl. I feel like she as a sister tries to bring Lisa out of her shell because Lisa's a bit introverted compared to Patrice. However, what they choose to amplify about Patrice is the negative qualities of Patrice. And right off the bat, when we're introduced to Patrice, it is at a basketball game, right? They're at this basketball game. Lisa sets Akeem up with her sister like a good sister does. And Patrice is not interested in getting to know Akeem. She's interested in his pants. And she does not know this man from nowhere. And he trying to hold a conversation with her and she feeling him up. She's feeling him up much to his discomfort, which we got to stop right there and say, look here, that's assault, baby. That is assault. It's played up for laugh in this movie, but it's not funny because at the end of the day, if the shoe's on the other foot, Okay, not to be that guy, but if the shoe was on the other foot and there was a man feeling up on a woman unwanted, that is assault, right? So that's not okay. Not okay. So she has no problem to be feeling up on some man she don't know. She has no problem doing all of that. So that's already strike one, right? Strike number two, we have the scene where Lisa gets a present, which she assumes is from, no, it's from a secret admirer because they said not Daryl in the thing. And she's like, oh, where would she get this from? Like, this is what Patrice says to Lisa. And she's like, yo, you must have did something strange for a piece of change, okay? And so the fact that Patrice even has that mindset, it shows where she's at with it. She doesn't believe that women can just get nice things for just being themselves or whatever. She believes that you got to put out to get whatever. And so once again, while, that's kind of sad, but it just shows you where Patrice's experiences lie with men. And then we have another scene where she goes to see Akeem at his apartment and he's not there, and she runs into Semi, and Semi gives her the whole story. She sees that the apartment is all souped up and she's like, how y'all affording this? Y'all supposed to be, goat herders, and you are part-time workers at my father's restaurant. You ain't making no big money to afford all of this. And so Semi lies and says he's the prince and whatever. And what does she do? She abandons Akeem because she doesn't know Akeem's not really interested in her. So she breaks up with him, or in her mind, and goes with Semi because he's a prince, which is the exact opposite of what Lisa did, right? Lisa found out Akeem was the prince and said, you lied to me, you betrayed me, I'm out of here. She said that Semi was the prince, which he's not, but she doesn't know that. And she's like, oh, Akeem, you're done. Okay, I struck gold. Okay, I found me a good one now. And so once again, it's not the best light, right? This is like, she doesn't care about who the man is so long as he has money. She's all good with it, okay? Once again, so there's that. Then we have the end of the film, where even when she finds out that Akeem actually is the prince and not Semi, she is upset and is like, why does she always get the good ones? So this is not the first time that Patrice has went through something like this, right? She has to constantly see her, sister get suitor after suitor, and all these men are not bums. Once again, these are men with means. These are men, quality men, right? How value, as the young people say of today, right? Even though Daryl's no prize, but it is what it is. But you know what I mean? So she's constantly, and that is probably why she goes to these desperate measures to, get with men, because she feels like she's not gonna get any better, because it's always Lisa and never her. And then we have the final scene of Miss Patrice, and this is when Daryl tries to make that final attempt to get Lisa back because Mr. McDowell invited him over, and he kind of shuts him out once he finds out Prince Akeem is a prince. And so then he goes and sneaks to, or Patrice finds him somewhere in the house, and so she's like, oh, you poor thing, let me take care of you, whatever. And we can assume as the audience that either they hooked up or she took advantage of him, which she technically did. This is a vulnerable man. He just got dumped. And yes, Daryl's trash, but he's still a person with feelings, right? And once again, and this is also more trash on Patrice's part, because this is your sister's ex-boyfriend and technically ex-fiance. And so you are so willing to sleep with this man or get with this man, not caring that this is, no loyalty to your sister. And once again, that ain't it, right? Because Lisa has been nothing but loyal to you in this movie. So why are you doing her like that, right? And I mean, obviously, this is a rebound situation. This is like we don't know anything because the movie's over at this point. We never learn anything about Miss Patrice because she's not in the sequel. But it could be said that Daryl probably dumps her after this. I don't think that he, really is interested in Patrice. She probably did it to piss Lisa off, or think he gonna get her back, or whatever the case may be, or just to stroke his own ego. Really, we don't know. But like I said, Patrice is seen as sloppy seconds, or she's seen as this desperate attempt, or, a second choice. She's not a prize. Exactly the opposite from how Lisa was shown. And so there's the problem right there, right? And that's probably exactly why the woman who plays Patrice decided to opt out of the second movie, because she probably didn't want to go through this again, because quiet as it's kept, she did not really like her portrayal of Patrice in this movie, and rightfully so, because it's trash and it aged horribly, right? People probably didn't notice how bad this was back then, But now that we know what we know, it's not it. It's not it. And you know who else we can talk about? We can talk about Miss Imani, who, if you don't remember, she played the iconic role in the beginning of the movie, who was supposed to be Akeem's future wife, that they arranged to marry him, but he chose not to be with her because she had no thoughts of her own, right? And that's not really her fault technically, because she was just raised that way because tradition, and that's the part that's kind of unfair. But she, while her scene was very brief, and I mean, of course, she looked beautiful and it's an iconic scene, it's still trash, especially when you learn the story of Vanessa Bell Calloway. She originally auditioned to play the part of Lisa, but they actually, suggested she audition for this role instead, and of course, she got the part. So listen to this interview that she does with Page 6, right? She says, who played the role of Imani in 1988's Coming to America, the beautiful woman originally meant to marry Eddie Murphy's Prince Akeem, says she originally auditioned for the lead female role of Lisa, played by Shari Headley, and believes her complexion played a role in not getting the part. When you have white people hiring black people in movies, sometimes a certain look is wanted. Calloway 67 tells Page 6, Calloway got the impression that the film's team wanted a light-skinned girl. I just wasn't light enough, even though Eddie had the final say on who played Lisa. She continued, that's something that we've always dealt with within our race. A lot of men were indoctrinated by having a white woman or light-skinned woman on their arm. Calloway, who's also been in Showtime's Shameless, recently adds, I didn't want to take the part of Imani. I wanted to be Lisa. I had read the script and I wanted the bigger role. The production then allegedly said she would be great for the role of Imani and asked her to read for the part. At that point, I knew I wasn't going to get Lisa, so I went outside in the hallway, looked over the part with 5 minutes of preparation, went back in, and I did the best that I could. Calloway says that despite the experience, the material opportunity outweighed her misgivings. So, child, that's just really, disheartening to hear, because Vanessa Bell Calloway is a very much talented and capable actress. There's no reason why she couldn't have been the part for Lisa other than colorism. And it's really, like I said, it's unfortunate, and this could have really did a lot for Miss Vanessa. And while, of course, that part is iconic, it's a very brief moment. And once again, it's just showing black women to be the butt of the joke, as we always are. There's no reason that her character could have easily been played by a lighter-skinned character, because there are lighter-skinned folks in Africa. So why couldn't her actress be a lighter-skinned person? While she did the scene really well, it's iconic, she looked great doing it, it's just sad because that wasn't her original intent. And she probably just took that role because at the time, as a dark-skinned actress in Hollywood, I'm sure that the space is limited. It's limited now. Like I said, we all know that there has been some form of erasure when it comes to dark-skinned women in Hollywood. This is nothing new, but I'm sure that jobs were sparse, okay? So, and this is Eddie Murphy in the 80s. Okay, who was a big freaking deal. I mean, it's a big freaking deal now, but in the 80s, Eddie Murphy was just as big as someone like a Michael Jackson. They were the two men dominating, in their respected fields during this decade. So to be in a movie with him, whether it's what you wanted or not, is still going to give you access in terms of more future roles. And so I don't really blame Vanessa Bell Calloway for taking the role regardless, but I'm saying it's just unfortunate that that is what happened to her, and it's unfortunate what happened to Patrice. But yes, I will note that there was technically one positive dark-skinned woman representation in the film. It was Akeem's mother, the queen, the late Maid Sinclair. She was a really, she was the one that supported Akeem through it all. She was always in his corner, and she's the one that urged him at the end of the film to go get Lisa back and stood up to the father. However, usually in movies and television shows, if you notice, when there is a dark-skinned woman, she usually is somebody mama, somebody auntie, somebody counselor, someone, because they think that dark-skinned women just pop out the womb at 45 and don't have anything else going on for themselves. Also, this movie is not about her. While she does a great and phenomenal job at what she was given, this movie is not about her. She's not the one that is obviously at the forefront of this plot. She's kind of just there to move the plot along, but it's not about her. It's not. She's not the main love interest. She's not anything. She's just the mom. So yes, while that is great that she got to be this, good character in this film, that doesn't really make up for the overwhelmingly, negative portrayal of Miss Patrice. And that's just that on that. What? We still got more to talk about because we got to talk about the second movie and what happens with Miss Leslie Jones. Coming to America is a 2021 American comedy film that serves as a sequel to the 1988 film Coming to America starring Eddie Murphy. The film is directed by Craig Brewer from a screenplay by Kenya Barris. If you know, you know. Barry W. Blausen and David Sheffield, and a story by Blausen and Sheffield and Justin Canoe based on characters created by Murphy. It stars Murphy, Arsenio Hall, Jeremy Fowler, Leslie Jones, Tracy Morgan, Kiki Lane, Shari Headley, Tiana Taylor, Wesley Snipes, and James Earl Jones. Originally set to be theatrically released by Paramount Pictures, the film distribution rights were sold to Amazon Studios due to Rona. Amazon released it digitally via Prime Video March 4th, 2021. Coming to America received mixed reviews from critics, and I wonder why. But no. So, this movie, child, we get into it at the end, but basically we're going to talk about Miss Mary Johnson, which is a very odd last name. I thought it was Johnson. I just thought they were pronouncing it weird, but no, it's Johnson. But Mary Johnson. So Patrice, like I said, was virtually absent from this movie, so there's no mention of Patrice whatsoever. So because there's no dark-skinned woman to get the butt of all the jokes, we had to find a new one, right? So that's when Miss Mary Johnson comes into play. So first things first, Miss Mary is basically Akeem's, the mother of Akeem's estranged or lost son, whatever you want to call it. And what's really crazy or really just about Mary's character is that basically, because when I remember I saw the trailer and they said that he had some son somewhere, I was like, how is that possible? That doesn't make sense with Akeem's character. Akeem, we literally saw Akeem's entire journey in America. We never saw him, be with anyone else. And like I said, his whole point was not to connect with a woman on a physical level. He never seemed like the character engaged in no casual sex or anything like that. So it would be very out of character for him to do that. But they found a way, child. And the way that they chose is despicable. So basically what happens is that one of the nights when they were going to the bars and meeting women, Sammy was sexually frustrated, and he decides to approach these two young women and say, hey, me and my friend just came from Africa, where he's a prince, I'm his whatever, and we want to have a good time. They said, okay, cool. They go back to the apartment. Sammy hooks up with the girl, and Akeem is left to sit on the couch with Leslie Jones' character, who basically drugs him and sexually assaults him. That's no other way to sugarcoat that one, which is despicable. Like, in 2021, not ever, but seriously, because I said, y'all already did this nonsense in the first movie, and like, whatever. Now, y'all took it 20 steps forward, and in the worst way possible. Like, and that's the part that really got me about, like, the reviews of this movie, because I like to read reviews and such and see that anyone also noticed this nonsense, and surprisingly, not surprisingly, but no one mentions this assault. Like, this is assault. You can go to jail for doing things like this. There's nothing funny about that. That's disgusting. And so right off the bat, once again, Leslie Jones' character is meant to be seen to be desperate once again, conniving and scheming, right? She's so desperate she has to drug a man to sleep with her. Like, that's what? And so that's how we're introduced to Miss Mary. And then because she was so, I guess, promiscuous in her youth, she basically said she was a hoe back then. And she didn't even realize that Akeem could possibly be the father of her son. And she went 30 some years, right? Or 30 years, I think he's 30. And never really looking or questioning who the father of her son was, because there was so many. And this is a common stereotype with Black women, right? We all seen Maury growing up. Majority of the contestants on that show are Black women. So this is something that a lot of white people have perceptions about us, is that we got a bunch of baby fathers, or we don't know who our baby daddies are, or whatever. So we already off to a rough start, honey. And so then when Akeem invites both of them to live in the palace, or really he invites the son, but the son's like, I'm not going nowhere without their mom, which is the one positive thing about this whole dynamic, or this whole character, is that she is to believe she's a good mom. She's a good relationship with her son. She gives him good advice, and I wish that they highlighted that more instead of the BS. But of course, we want to go for cheap laughs, so whatever. And Mary is, you know, she's not married, right? When we find her, she's not really that accomplished. She lives in this cramped up apartment in Queens, you know. And once again, there's nothing necessarily wrong with being a single mother, but it's not like, oh, she was widowed or that she's choosing to be single. This is like, when, like I said, she's not worthy enough to have a husband. She's not worthy enough to have a good life, right? She's supposed to be in the struggle. Okay? So, once again, I'm not here for it. And then they get to Africa and she's just major inconvenience. And once again, we have the light-skinned woman with Lisa and her, and they are polar opposites of each other, right? Where Lisa is this regal queen who stands up for her daughter and, you know, cool, calm, and collected. Leslie Jones's character is loud and, you know, disruptive and still hypersexual and ghetto. Like, and it's just not, it's not it, right? Kind of where we leave it, because this movie's not worth going in no deep dive about scenes. Like I said, overall, her character is meant to be negative. It's meant to be a stereotype. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. They thought it was going to be funny, but that type of comedy don't fly around here. It shouldn't have flied back then, but it definitely ain't going to fly right now, okay? And that's why I don't understand people's critiques about this movie being politically correct and oh, like whatever. Like, no, there's nothing politically correct about y'all trying to pass off sexual assault as funny. It's trash. It's disgusting. And once again, reinforces this notion that dark-skinned women are so desperate that they can't be tamed. Because that's the other thing about it, is that they made Akeem seem so innocent, right? Like, oh, here's this foreign guy who doesn't really know about American culture and whatever, and here's this black dark-skinned woman who came on to him. He had no idea this woman was just pouncing on me like an animal, basically, is what he basically is saying when he's recapping the event. And, you know, ramming me, that's the word that he used. And so it's just like, oh, poor Akeem, right? Like, it's not even like we can get mad at him for this. He's innocent. So typical Jezebel stereotype here. Typical promiscuous dark-skinned woman things that play here. She just can't be tamed, honey. She's just out here pouncing on any and every man, don't care, right? And so that's the part that just pisses me off. And overall, the sequel, once again, it was never necessary to begin with. 30 years way too late. Second of all, it was just nostalgia bait, nostalgia porn. We just try to rely on cheap jokes or jokes that were used in the first movie, but not nearly as funny this time around. It just felt like they were constantly trying to tell us, hey, remember this part? Remember this part? Remember this was funny? Laugh now. And it's not funny. The product placement with the one random scene where they start rapping. What the hell was that? And the Spotify playlist thing. Them trying to redo the whole bark like a dog thing with the Tiana Taylor character, which was completely unnecessary. Like, what? This, and look, here it is. When it comes to this movie, there were two different movies, right? It felt like Brave all over again, right? Should have focused more on the daughter, the one that wanted to become queen, because there was something really interesting and worth talking about there. But we chose to do the whole lost son and focus on that character more, which was stupid and trash. No shade to Jermaine. He did with the best he could, but his character was not interesting, and I hated that whole storyline, especially because the way y'all did Miss Leslie Jones, honey. Okay, and once again, Leslie Jones probably took this role because, one, have you really seen her in any big movies? No. And two, this is Eddie Murphy. Why would you turn down an opportunity to work with Eddie Murphy? However, I find it strategic that they chose Leslie Jones as opposed to someone like Tiffany Haddish, because I felt like they were trying to push the same narrative once again. A dark-skinned woman being hypersexual, being undesirable, being in a negative light. They weren't interested in telling no good story. What an underusage of Miss Kiki Lane, who, if you don't know, was the star of If Beale Street Can Talk, which is a beautiful, amazing film. Okay? Y'all have my good sis who was on an Oscar-nominated film with an amazing cast doing this clownery. Are you kidding me? What a waste. What a freaking waste of a talent. Because she was so good with the little that she got. Because yes, in the end, she got to become queen. But do we really get to see that journey really? No, because we kept shoving the whole lost son line in there. And trying to put in as much cameos, as much stupid jokes, as much nostalgia porn that we could have done. We could have told a good story here, but we chose not to because colorism is what we chose to want to do. We wanted to be ignorant. We wanted to do the nostalgia bait. And that's just trash to me. It's just honestly just so trash and discouraging to see that in 2021, y'all still doing BS like this. And it's just trash. And to take it even a step further with Eddie Murphy, I mean, Eddie Murphy really does not have dark-skinned leads in his movies. Like, he doesn't. You know, Boomerang, he was with Halle Berry and Robin Givens. In Nutty Professor, he was, both of the movies, he was with Jada Pinkett Smith and Janet Jackson. I mean, unless Vampires in Brooklyn count, I guess. But even in Harlem Nights, Jasmine Guy, he was gonna sleep with this lighter-skinned woman. Like, he does not really, you know, do main leads with darker skinned women. And when he is with a darker skinned woman, it's meant to, because usually the darker skinned woman is him. He's in a fat suit, okay? Like Norbit. And we all know Respucia is a horrible person, and she's meant to be this evil, you know, woman who takes advantage of Norbit. She treats him badly. She lies about having a baby. She abuses him at every turn. So when he does leave her for a lighter skinned, thin woman, we're meant to be like, oh, okay, well, she was trash anyway. We're rooting for this relationship, right? We're rooting for the demise of his marriage. We don't care. And at the end of the day, it's fat phobic and it's colorist. But of course, all for laughs, right? And once again, even in something like The Nutty Professor, the darker skinned women in these movies, once again played by Eddie Murphy, the mama is a mammy, so she's just all happy all the time. Hercules, lives to serve her family, all that type of stuff. And then nothing really much going on there, right? And then you have the grandma, who is once again hypersexual, promiscuous, you know, this woman who really doesn't got much going on except for what next man she finna sleep with. Like, even in old age, we are still desperate, huh? And he's kind of the reason why lots of men think that it's cool to dress up like women and portray as badly. Because most of the time when these men put on the wigs and put on the dresses or whatever they do, even in today's time with the IG comedians or TikTok comedians, it's never to portray darker skinned women or black women in a good light. It's always to make us the joke. And that's the problem, because at the end of the day, when something does happen to black women, y'all don't care. And y'all think, oh, y'all need to, it's not that serious. I mean, looking at Eddie Murphy in his personal life, he has never really been public with a dark-skinned woman. And I only bring that up because, as I said in my music conversation, when it comes to black men, they like to put on or give access to, when they have positions of power, to women they're attracted to. We've seen it with the Rick Ross example that we had with his whole scandal with him in The Dream and the girl on Signed. So this is something that's common. You see it all the time. So going back to even Vanessa Bell Calloway's whole thing when she was talking about the fact that she said that Eddie Murphy had a lot to say, which he does. He's one of the biggest comedians ever. He's most of the producers of these types of his movies. So he can say, hey, I want this darker skinned woman to be the lead. Or let's find a dark skinned woman to be in this movie. There's not enough melanin for me. You know what I mean? And that just sucks, because like I said, I do enjoy an Eddie Murphy movie. I do find him to be funny, but at the same time, like I said, I can be objective and say, look, failed darker skinned woman in the whole trajectory of your career, and you had a chance to make a dark skinned girl be the forefront of your movie, and you chose to make her the side character so that you can go and make a joke out of another dark skinned woman and then make a terrible movie. And we didn't have to do that. And it's time that we do better. And I don't want to hear the whole, it's just a joke, it's just a movie. No, because as I told y'all, representation matters, period. And this is why people think it's okay to treat us this way. It's okay where we get to be erased from our own stories. It's okay for us to be whatever. And like these movies, this Hollywood would rather hire someone like a Zoe Saldana and put her in blackface to play a dark-skinned woman than to go find a dark-skinned actress to play her. We are being erased from our own stories and narratives, and we are always the joke, and I'm tired of it. Y'all think I find joy in doing these things? I really don't, because it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And I really want better for us, and it hurts me because it's black men doing this. And at the end of the day, it's black women that got y'all behind y'all all the time. We advocating for y'all all the time. Why do y'all do this? It's disgusting. And I even said, like, come on, like, Kenya Burris is interested because we gonna get to him. He gonna get his own video, baby. It's coming. He's a known colorist because he's part of the problem. My man has how many shows, and we can count how many women he got in them shows that are darker than a paper bag. Please. Please, it does not shock me in the slightest that he was a part of this. It don't shock me. It doesn't. And it just further proves my point. That even now, like I said, all these men that I just named that was writing the script said that this was okay to do, this was funny to do. And like I said, Eddie Murphy, who had the final say, saw this and said, yup, that's the one. No. Not on my watch. I don't care. So I can love the first movie. I could be a fan of Eddie Murphy's other work. I can find him funny, but this is not it. It's not excusable anymore. It's not. And it's time that we say something about it. So I said, every time I see colorism, I'm going to point it out. I don't give a damn who is doing it. I did it for Tyler, and I'm going to do it for Eddie. And I told y'all Kenya's time is coming too, baby. So y'all be on the lookout. But anywho, I know this video is quite long. But anywho, let me know how y'all felt about this Coming to America sequel and how y'all feel about the colorism, both prevalent in both the first and second film. Let's have a productive conversation, right? Productive conversation only, all right? Thank y'all so much for watching, and I will definitely see y'all in my next video. Peace out, y'all.